Gerald Ford Carrier Strike Group has arrived in the Caribbean, where it is working to dismantle the drug trade our military says is plaguing the region. The Carrier Group's arrival came as the military announced it had destroyed yet another drug boat, bringing the total number of strikes to 21. Meanwhile, President Trump's war on fentanyl is being championed by people who have lost loved ones to drug poisonings and overdoses, like Pawn Stars rock boss Rick Harrison.
These are weapons of mass destruction that people are trying to bring into this country. Whatever we have to do to stop it from coming in this country. I mean, if he saves 100 people, my God, it's incredible. I mean, but like 100,000 people a year dying, something's got to be done, and these people are terrorists, and it's no different than a nuclear bomb.
Now, Harrison's son, Adam, who you're looking at, died last year from fentanyl and methamphetamine toxicity. Rick says his son's death weighs on him every day, and after that tragedy, he's become a fierce advocate for stricter punishments for drug dealers.
I don't want anyone selling fentanyl to go to jail for the rest of their life. Yeah, they're selling poison, they're killing people. I mean it's like, I think it's every 11 minutes someone dies from fentanyl in this country. If you make the punishment for selling it so bad, it'll probably still be out there to some degree, but a lot of it will go away.
Adam was just 39 years old. He was one of the 48,000 people who died from synthetic opioids last year, according to the CDC, although that number is down 36% from the year before. Families who have lost loved ones say there's still a long way to go. Jeremy, this is why when those drug boats approach the United States, President Trump could have said, hey, I'll detain these drug boats, but instead he said, let's blow them up. Let's get rid of these guys. There's poison flooding into the United States. Let's have a deterrent.
That's right, man. Look, we have poison flowing to our country, killing our kids. And for so many years, we have kind of sat by. We have the intel. We know where it's coming from. We know how it's getting to the country, but we have not done much about it. And President Trump is saying, look, we're going to destroy their supply lines. We're going to stop it before the products arrive on the shores of our country. And so I appreciate, Rick's advocacy, talking about his son who was killed from a fentanyl overdose. Those kind of personal stories, I think, are very key as well. I will say, from a military standpoint, one thing I do think about as a former Army guy is, how are we using our resources judiciously? I want to make sure that we're able to project power anywhere around the globe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is the secret sauce of the American military, is that we can kill you anywhere, anytime. And so as we're focusing on Iran is exactly right. As we're focusing on our hemisphere, I want to make sure China, Russia, Iran, that we are still keeping a pace and making sure we're keeping them at bay. And we don't want them to think that, we're focused on the Western Hemisphere. We aren't going to worry about what they're doing in the Pacific. We've got to be able to do both at the same time.
Yeah, and President Trump has sent several messages. The drug boats, Bordeaux, the list goes on, and our adversaries have taken notice. Marie, I want you to look at these Americans on the wall. These are Americans who have lost their lives to fentanyl. It is horrifying. A lot of these Americans taking, an innocent prescription drug that might be laced with fentanyl. Mm-hmm. And I applaud this administration for sending that deterrent message with the drug boats. And not only that, but with President Xi trying to make this an issue in negotiations, that we will stop seeing fentanyl come from China as well.
I mean, this is heartbreaking. And there's tens of thousands of people whose photos aren't up there, right, who have also lost their lives. I'm glad you brought up China. China is the place where a lot of synthetic materials come from to make fentanyl. And President Trump's State Department actually said in March that the only country that actually is bringing most of this into the U.S. is from Mexico. So I want to go after these traffickers aggressively. I don't think that blowing up boats coming from Venezuela, which is not where the fentanyl actually comes from, especially when we don't know who's on those boats. I mean, look, I was the CIA spokesperson.
Are you advocating blowing up China?
Yeah, the administration has said that they are drug cartel members.
But they haven't given us any evidence. When I was CIA spokesperson and we were undertaking counterterrorism operations, we put out as much information as we could legally without giving up sources and methods to show who we were killing, because we thought that was important. The Trump administration has not given us evidence that these fishermen are actually drug dealers. And again, fentanyl is coming from Mexico, not Venezuela.
Those vessels are just full of fishermen?
We have no idea who's in them. And what's the legal authority to go after them?
Article 2, the president's commander-in-chief power. Article 1, Section 8 gives Congress the power to declare war.
And Congress hasn't.
However, there's an OLC memo that when it's in the national interest, you can take limited action. Guess who did that? Your former
Do you
boss,
think sending the largest aircraft carrier in the world is limited action?
Did President Obama take limited action when he took out people overseas?
My point is the fentanyl is not coming from Venezuela. It's coming from Mexico.
From both places.
The State Department under Donald Trump said it wasn't, Kaylee. That's the problem.
Marie,
I'm trying
I
to
know
follow
you're
the
keeping
facts
up
here.
with the conversation that the president had most recently with Xi, with the president.
And I'm glad he's negotiating
and
with
so
them.
fentanyl was on that, and I know from being in Vietnam along the line, along the border with Cambodia and China, I can tell you that the Chinese were trying to use the southern ports of Vietnam to get those goods to our shores as close as possible, going through South and Central America. And they were effective at doing that. What I also know is that Trump has now leaned on the Chinese to stop that. Now, we don't have a complete percentage calculation of how much time it will take to slow those things down, but we know closing the border, which is something that Biden refused to do, certainly has helped us exponentially.
I agree with you, Harris.
So if you're saying that China is the only problem, what about all the cartels?
I said Mexico's the problem, not Venezuela, and that we don't send an aircraft carrier to take out a fishing boat.
Marie, you've had a lot of time to talk. I'd like to jump in here as well. Look, President Trump just views this issue differently than past presidents, clearly. He views this the similar way of the war on terror, right? He looks at when you're killing close to 100,000 people, most of that is from fentanyl. He views it as a war on the American people. That's why he's designated a lot of these cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, to give our military the same tools, the counterterrorism tools that we would go after ISIS or Al-Qaeda. He views them in the same vein. I also think addiction's deeply personal to him. Obviously, he lost his brother Fred from alcoholism, not from drugs, but this is a deeply personal issue for him. Also, I think you can look at some past parallels, like in 2000 with former President Bill Clinton with Plan Colombia, about $1 billion. He also skirted human rights conditions to send helicopters, military advisors, and intelligence to fight the FARC there.
That's right.
So I think President Trump just views this differently than past presidents, and that's why there's a lot of this conflict and Democrats not really understanding exactly what he's trying to accomplish or how he views it.
President Trump can always cite the President Obama drone strikes as his precedent for taking action. History on his side. A blue city seeing a big